What's going on, Bucs fans? Back here at the Pirate Parlay podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen, as always, and Bucs are in a bye week, so we're not going to be talking about any games or anything like that going on, but we will be talking about what they need to do to get themselves right. Offense has been clicking, defense has been not. Bucs make a move, get a new neighbor. We'll talk about all that stuff and more after the break.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
What's going on, guys? Back here on the other side of the Pirate Parlay podcast on the Sick Podcast Network. Jason Allen, as always, make sure you guys do me a favor. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Get this out. Share this with a friend. Share this with a family. Get this out to as many people as you can. Thank you guys for all joining today, watching, listening, wherever you are. I appreciate you guys popping in here. Bucs make some moves, make some noise, get a new neighbor. Not a great way to head into the bye week after a loss. We'll touch on that a little bit too. And then we'll always take some fans' questions and comments. If you guys want to jump in, participate, always welcome for sure. Appreciate that. Love that. Love making you guys part of the show. So we'll jump into some of the top storylines as of right now. Breaking news, in fact, the Bucs have made a move. They haven't made a move at the trade deadline. Haven't really brought anybody in, but today is different story. Reuniting with the team is safety Mike Edwards. He was with the team throughout his first 4 years, part of that Super Bowl winning team. Played with the guys in the backfield there, defensive backfield, and Antoine Winfield Jr., Jordan Whitehead came in as that third safety, that kind of being a ball hawk type of guy. Obviously, his 3 interceptions, leading up into the Super Bowl. He had some nice plays there as well. Another reinforcement, a guy that kind of knows the system, can use him inside and outside. It gives Bowles a little bit more of some versatility to use Antoine Winfield Jr. and maybe Tyke Smith in some different ways. If certainly at this point of his career, a little bit better player than Kayvon Merriweather. So if you want to bump down Antoine Winfield to the slot or a big linebacker in dime situations or Tyke, kind of allows you to do that. I don't know what this means for Christian Izien and how, his rotation on the field. He's been a dog. You still want to get him involved as well. So, I think it's a smart pickup. Not going to cost much time for the veteran minimum prorated towards the end of the year is like, 400, 300,000, maybe $5. It's not going to cost them a lot of money to make the move. A guy who knows the system and, is going to be happy to be back playing with his brothers, playing with his fellas. And the Bucs are going to obviously welcome him back with open arms. They had to make a move, though. You make a move, you got to make a move in addition. They've waived Keenan Isaac off the roster. Isaac hasn't seen the field on defense. He has played in some, special team snaps. Not many, though. I want to say, he's kind of just been there as, breaking case of glass emergency. I can actually, look in my magic globe, tell you what his snap count has been like. But I feel like it hasn't been a lot. But it's a solid move for the Bucs, right? Anytime you can get someone at this time of the season who knows the system, who can, he was with the Chiefs last year, won a Super Bowl with them, then kind of bounced around, started the season with the Bills. Then he was released at the trade deadline and signed on over with the Titans. That lasted a week. And now he's back home in Tampa where it all started. Yeah, Keenan Isaac's played 11 special team snap last week. So not a lot. That's easily replaced by a guy like Mike Edwards. So they're bringing somebody, not a linebacker or a wide receiver where I feel like they need the most help. But again, anytime at this point of the year, you can get someone who knows your system, knows the guys, can communicate with them well as well. Give, some of your other guys a breather, and come in and make plays. It's what he's been doing, throughout his career is make plays, get his hands on balls. That's a guy you want to bring to the building, especially when it's not going to cost a lot. So solid pickup by them. I do like the move. Again, we'll see if that opens things up. His final year here, he was playing strong safety role. Like, it just didn't suit him well at all. But this with Antoine, maybe you can get some packages on the field where he's playing free safety. Antoine comes down as that kind of roving linebacker, star linebacker, or Tyke Smith, who played that. Antoine switches over into the nickel where he played 2 years ago. And it just makes your defense a little bit better, I think, especially in coverage if you do choose to go to nickel and dime situation. So, solid move for them. Coming off a loss that put them at 4-6 on the season. Tough loss too. You can nitpick and say, oh, they could have done this or they could have done that. The fact of the matter is, when I look at it, and you guys know I generally am a little bit more of a positive outlook on things. They held the Super Bowl the past 2 weeks. They've held both Super Bowl champions to last minute plays to win the game. It was a walk-off touchdown in the Chiefs NFC conference championships, my bad, with the Niners and the Chiefs. Walk-off wins on both of them, but you hung in there with the Chiefs, came back at the end. You hung in there with the 49ers. They just made one more play to beat you at the end of the game. You look at the losses. Baltimore was 10 points, but you saw the resiliency of them coming back. Atlanta, both of those games were one-score games. One was a walk-off in overtime. This is a Bucs team. It's a good Bucs team. They just need to figure it out. That's the thing. Yeah, Bud Cannibal says without our top 3 wide receivers. Right. Both games without their top 3 wide receivers. They did that with Jalen McMillan was obviously out for the Chiefs game and then was active but couldn't go against the 49ers. So as Peter says, we just claimed Mike Edwards. I just touched on that at the beginning of the show, but I do think it's a great move for them. So, I think if the Bucs team, obviously we talked about the schedule, you look at it coming up and, you've got the Giants and the Panthers and the Raiders and the Chargers, Cowboys, Carolina, and the Saints. None of those teams outside the Chargers has more than 3 wins on the season. They've got the easiest schedule by far, but it doesn't matter if they can't fix the problems. And what are the problems that they face? Well, I mean, big one is tackling. Missed tackles have been plaguing this team over the last couple weeks, and it's really kind of gone downhill for them to the point where the missed tackles are allowing explosive plays to happen, and that's in the running game anything over 10 yards, in the passing game over 20 yards. So if they can just get back to technique and fundamentals and tackling, that's going to go a long way to limiting some of these explosives. Injuries too, like Jamel Dean should be back, Mike Evans should be back. Christian Wirfs is one of these questionable things, right? Vita Vea missed 1 game with an MCL sprain. Went out about the same timing too as Vita Vea did in that Lions game, as Wirfs did against the 49ers, and only missed 1 week. So there's potential maybe he's back as early as the Giants game. He's week to week. They're not going to call it anytime soon. They let him practice and see how it goes. But even if you only lose him for the Giants game, I think that puts you in a way better position if you lost him for the season. But you should be getting him back soon. Everyone who's nicked up is going to have this time to reset, recover a little bit, which is good. And they just got to come out and they've got to fire on all cylinders. Offense hasn't been missing a beat much. K-Dot has stepped up in an unbelievable way. I think the running game is between White and Bucky. Both of them offer 2 different things, and their skill sets that they provide make a perfect combination. You could mix those 2 guys together to be the perfect back with their receiving skills with White, and the running skills, the ability to make the first defender miss with Bucky Irving. I know a lot of people want to get Sean Tucker in there a little bit more. It's just, you've got 2 guys that you got to feed. It's hard to get that 3rd guy in. Again, we talked about struggles in pass pro, so you're not going to get him in on 3rd down. I think they're looking good there. The offensive line has played lights out, phenomenal the last couple of games. It's really starting to come together. Luke Gedeke, I predicted in my bold predictions he'd be a top 5 right tackle in the league by season's end. He's already probably up there. Like he's really, really good. He's developed into one of the league's best right tackles. Cody Moak is 17th ranked guard, no matter side. So I mean, split that in half, and left guards and right guards. He's in the top 10 for right guards. Ben Bredesen hasn't allowed a sack all year. He's been really good. better in pass pro than run blocking, but he still showed up in Graham Barton. Man, year 2 is going to be so good for him once he really kind of everything slows down and he's been through an NFL offseason strength and conditioning program. He's going to be a perennial Pro Bowler, if not all pro, at the center position. So their offensive line has done well. And even the guys stepping up, at wide receiver, they've made some plays. It's not good. I mean, anytime I think it was like 5 for 28 last week. It's not good. And I wrote about it in my extra point takeaways from the game. The wide receiver, they are missing Mike Evans badly. They just not have been stepping up. And part of that's on Baker not trusting him. Part of that is, you're trying to get Marquise Callaway, who you signed to the practice squad 3 weeks ago, and trying to get him some game reps. Ryan, as I posted Ryan Miller, the snap counts, and people were like, why is Ryan Miller? Well, Ryan Miller's 6'2", 221, and the best run blocker on the team with Chris Godwin down. So that's why Ryan Miller is playing a bunch of snaps. But, they do need more. They'll get Mike back after the bye week. Jalen should hopefully be healthy after the bye week, and those guys need to step up. Shepard, has stepped up for the most part, but, Baker's got to step up and make some of these throws that he's been missing too. So, you move these guys around, the running backs around, try to get them maybe some mismatches against some linebackers. Again, these next upcoming teams are not very good teams for a reason. They're missing a lot of playmakers on those teams, and they're far away from that. And there's opportunities for you to take advantage at every single level. And the Chargers is probably their toughest game right now. I think the Cowboys, that will get flexed out likely, but they always play the Bucs tough. And, you got to watch out for these pesky Panthers, I mean, you got to watch out for them. 2 years ago, they were terrible, and they beat the Bucs in Carolina. So, you got to be able to take care of your business once you get back. So I think, like I said, the offense is doing well. It's really the defense that's been giving this team some issues. They've stuck around on offense. Defense needs to play better, and that's across the board. The addition, I think, of Mike Edwards will help some things that they might want to do and be a little bit more creative. Getting those guys and Tyke and Antoine some opportunities to be a little bit closer to the ball instead of playing back. But again, it starts with tackling. It starts with, I hate the word communication, because at this point, you guys should know what we're doing here. It's week 10. Going into week 11, like, we should know what we're doing and what we're supposed to be. And, that's with a lot of guys with an experience, Josh Hayes and Tyreek Funderburk, not having a lot of experience. And, Josh Hayes went from the league's best tackler on special teams, led the league there. And I think Tyreek Funderburk has shown a lot of promise. He's raw. He's an undrafted guy for a reason. He needs to get his reps. And I think once he does, he'll find a spot in that cornerback room. It's just, he needs time. And that's, I think, part of, when the Bucs do get these injuries, it helps fast forward and progress these guys in their development. We saw that with some guys last year that came in. So, hopefully by next season, where I think the Bucs are geared up to, I think a lot of people thought the Bucs could compete this year because of what happened last year against the Lions and almost going to the NFC Championship game, bringing a lot of your guys back. But I think, the Bucs are probably in a better position next year to really try to compete for that Super Bowl. Obviously, you're still trying to compete this year, but I think next year is really good opportunity for them. So they just got to come out there and play ball, stick to their assignments, control what you can control, and I think they'll be fine. So let's shout out one of our sponsors here real quick, and then we'll get to some of your fan comments. We'll go through. Bucs got a new neighbor, so we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about the rest of the season schedule. We'll get into that a little bit more. How have the Bucs fared the last couple of years at the second half of their season, past a certain date. So we'll get into that as well. But let's thank our sponsors over at the Bucs Cruise. I see Nathan Elliott in here. Operation Fill the Boat. The Bucs Cruise, guys, you're not going to want to miss this. It's March 7th to the 10th. You've only got it's the 14th, so you got less than a month to buy your tickets now. They have a few rooms left. You definitely want to jump on this experience. Perfect gift for Christmas, for significant other, your kids, your family, whatever. Definitely check this out. It's going to be so much fun. As you can see, Jordan Whitehead, Brad Johnson, Trey Palmer, Mike Allstock, Elijah Cansey, Luke Gedeke, Rashad White just announced. Tristan Wirfs will be there. So many more. Graham Barton, Yaya Diaby, Jamel Dean, Robert Batman Woods, Jimmy Giles. So many guys are going to be there. A bunch of the cheerleaders and newly announced O-Town. O-Town, if you're, a millennial, I guess what you're calling us, born, grew up in like the 2000s, O-Town and their pop success that they had. They're going to be doing a special performance for just the Bucs Cruise. So they'll be there too. It's an awesome time. They've got so many different things, different events they put on, sail away party, trivia contest, bingo, cocktail parties. There's got prizes, giveaways, player panels, water volleyball competition between the players and the crew. So many theme parties that keep the fun going all cruise long. Don't miss this awesome opportunity to celebrate and create lasting memories with not only Bucs players, but fans from all around the country. It's a lot of fun. I'll be there. It's going to be so much fun. I'm excited. I can't wait. You guys should definitely check it out. Derek Brooks will be there. Forgot to mention. That's a big name. Forgot to mention him. So definitely check it out. You can still get your tickets now up until December 11th. Don't sleep on it. Yes, Nathan, I'll be there drinking. Yes, together. Bride together. That's a throwback. The breaking up is hard enough. Wow, I'm gonna have to listen to some Together songs. Say it, don't spray it. Oh, that's a throwback right there. R.I.P. to the little cutie pie or whatever his name was that passed away with a. But yeah, let's getting off track here. Talking boy band. TRL's up next. Yeah. Booked and paid for, Nathan says. All right, let's get into some of your comments. Bud Canbliss, acknowledge me. Appreciate you. Says without our top 3 wide receivers, we talked about that. Claimed Mike Edwards. Anything we can, Clock 5 says, anything we get for the D got to help, right? At this point. He says, evening. Good evening to you, my friend. Hope it translates to wins. Hopefully. They played 7 of the top 10 offenses so far. Second half should be easier for them to get back on track. That's another thing, too. Like, they've played some of the best offenses in the league. And they put up points. Any team that's had a running, they're top 10 in the rush, like the Ravens, the Chiefs, the 49ers, they eclipse what they've led up for the year. So, that's how the running game's good. I think, the Ravens were only up 59 yards per game, and I think the Bucs put up like 100 and some odd yards on them. I can get the numbers for you because they're always just a click away from me. But the Bucs put up a good amount of running yards on a team that only let up 59 yards throughout the game, throughout the season at that point, 125 yards. And then the Chiefs only put up, I believe, allowed 89 or something like that. And again, they scored a good amount on the ground against them. Ran a good amount against them. They 95. So again, not like super, but even with the 49ers, I think they eclipsed it by a couple points, but they're still running against good run teams. So, the Bucs offense has been good and they've had to go up against good offenses. So, that's, will definitely change. We got Bryce Young, Daniel Jones, or maybe not. Gardner Minshew or Aiden Connell, who knows? You got Justin Herbert, which is a good quarterback, obviously. Then you got Cooper Rush in Dallas, or Trey Smith, I forget his name, that bust of a third overall pick, whatever his name was, Trey Lance. There we go. And then Carolina Panthers, Andy Dalton, Bryce Young, and then New Orleans. At that point, I'm assuming you're playing Spencer Rattler because you don't want Carson. Derek Carr to get hurt at that point. So like the last game of the season, you're not trying to have him get hurt and eat a bunch of guaranteed money, especially if you're trying to move him or anything like that. So I'm assuming you're going to play Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler had a good quarter, and that was about it. Bucs destroyed him. So, the quarterbacks they're playing aren't going to be very good. Dave's sneaky. I think Dave's a little sneaky one to watch for. He knows a lot about this team and, kind of what they do best and what they don't. But again, you got to get Bryce Young to be able to operate a game plan. So, Clock says we got to find a way to get White to get a little slot. They're using him in the screen, which has kind of been that situation for them, is getting him out in space. And that's worked well. The Bucs are one of the best teams in the league running the screens, and they do it so effectively. Bud says should have used White more at wide receiver, have Bucky and Tucker in the backfield. It's a little different, as Bryce says down here a couple comments later. Wide receiver is different than playing running back. White can catch passes, but he's catching them behind with the line already, separated from a defender. He's not running routes and trying to create separation. And he's spot on, like there's some running backs who can do that, like a wheel route or something like that, which provides a little bit of, because you can get kind of bumped at the line there if someone's playing close on you. But yeah, trying to get out press man coverage, create that separation and run succinct routes is a little bit more different for a running back than a wide receiver, or else all running backs would be wide receivers because the longevity is a little bit longer and they get paid more and they'd make that move. But you'll definitely see him like motioned out. I bet him or Bucky, you'll see them in the second half motioned out. But they'll be used in that screen kind of situation. You get both of them in the backfield and Pony at 21 personnel, you motion one out to the flat, quick dump off, set the screen, and boom. So, they'll use him as a receiving option a little bit more, I think, because they have to, even with Mike back. Mike's going to be doubled on every play, but that will open up some things for Otten. So, like, they took Otten away early in the game. They said, yeah, you're not throwing him anymore against the 49ers. So they took him away. So when you're doubling Mike, you can't take Otten away. If Dylan McMillan comes back from injury and can look like he did in training camp and preseason, then then they'll have another good player. Sterling Shepard, if he can, kind of continue reviving his career a little bit, more one-on-one looks and opportunities and Mike clearing space out and everything like that. The one thing they can't do is force feed the ball to Mike. That's a disaster waiting to happen. And I know everyone wants Mike, 93 yards per game or whatever it is, like over the last 7 games, and everyone wants him to get his 1,000 yards and keep the streak going. And I'm for that too, but you got to do it the smart way. You can't just force feed him because Baker's prone to throwing, some ugly balls here and there. So, the last thing you need is you trying to force feed Mike and interceptions coming. But he's going to open up. Just his presence will open up a lot for everybody else underneath. So, okay. Clock says we need to come out of the bye standing on business. They got to stand on business. They don't have a choice. But the good news is for the Bucs since 2020, and again, they're going to be, it's week 12 where they're coming back out of their bye, but since 2020, they're 17-5 after week 13. So I'd like to see what that record is after week 12. I'll have to go back and kind of dig through it. But, they've got one of the best records through week 13 to 18 since 2020. So, I mean, and again, they're set up for it too. So it starts with a win against the Giants, and then you just keep that momentum rolling. They know what they can be. They know what they are. They've done a really good job so far, continuing to kind of grow and expand as an offense. Defense needs to hold their part. If I'm scoring 24 points, 26 points, you guys got to step up and hold them so we can win this game, especially when you're down your wide receivers. So it's unfortunate because if Chris doesn't go down, I think you probably steal 2 of those games. And you're in a much different position. You're 6-4 at the bye with this easy schedule coming up. You win 6 games out of the 7. You got room to lose one and be 11-6. I still think they can go 11-6. It just everything needs to. There can't be no Emmys. You got to be on your game. No mental errors, no mistakes. Everyone's got to stay healthy, stay late, get extra treatment, do whatever you got to do, dial in. They need to do their job, not other people's jobs. Do your job. That's it. Do your job on the field. And I think they've got a good chance to. I don't know if they can run the table. I said this on WDAE, but I think a 6-1 out of the bye isn't out of the realm of possibility. Let's see. Appreciate you guys in here. Bry, he can block, do screens, and check down still from the slot. Would be good blocker on slot plays. He did a little slot in college for Herm. Yeah, I mean, they can use him in certain situations, I think, talking about Rachaad White. But I don't think like in every down. You can maybe motion him out there, like I said, and have him do some stuff, But, blocking in the run game, again, if you're giving the Bucky the ball and kind of giving that look like, oh, all right, Rashad's out as a slot. We got to look at him. And then you give the ball to Bucky. He runs, check downs for sure. Screens for sure. But you're not going to have him go run a slant or, go route out of the out of the slot. It's not going to work. So they really need to get Jalen McMillan needs to really just come out and step up and be that guy and make his, play fast and kind of just, he hasn't played the last couple of weeks. He's got this bye week. Hopefully his head is in the playbook and, he's texting Baker and trying to figure out what you see here, what I see there, and get on the same page. So, if they can do that, then the offense again isn't the problem. I don't think it can be better for sure. It can definitely be better, but I don't think it's the problem. It's the defense. The defense needs to kind of get their, lack of a better word, get their shit together. Shit, I'm not monetized yet. I can curse. They're going to get their shit together. Tackle, communicate, make plays, fly to the ball, get turnovers, get pressure. The Bucs have the most sacks since week 4 with 26, but it's coming like 10 of them have come from the interior. They need to get after the quarterback more. They need to, and I don't want to hear this. Well, we're getting back there, but the guy's getting rid of the ball. Well, how come other defensive ends? How come other edge rushers that are pass rusher? Those edge rush, whether they're defensive ends or outside linebacker, or edge rusher. How come they're getting there? And I know, like, I'm not comparing them to like the studs because I think the Bucs still need a stud, but like Yaya Diaby's got the 7th most pressures. He's got to get back there. Still got 2 sacks in the year. He's got to get back there. He's got to make some plays. He has to, And hopefully with Kalijah back and with Vita back, remember we've only had Kalijah back for what, 2 games? He came back the Ravens game, right? Or the Atlanta game? It was the Atlanta game. Kalijah's only been back for 3 games: Atlanta, Chiefs, and same thing with Antoine Winfield, who's been playing not great. He had that, fumble recovery, the scoop and score. Was that the Saints game? Could have been the Saints game. Regardless, they need to play. He needs to play better. Yeah, it was the Saints game. He came back. He needs to play better, and but hopefully that pressure from coming up the middle. They both came back, the Saints. Okay. I'm all over the place. It's been a long season, not just football, but my kids' football and everything else. But anyways, Kalijah Kancey, Vita Vea getting after the quarterback, doing what they're doing. We saw Kalijah force a fumble. That hopefully the interior pressure can start to push guys out of the pocket a little bit more, make them scared, make them move out of that middle and wrapped up by other people. But that's what you got to do. You got to tackle better, got to cover better, like all across the board. Anything that you're supposed to do on defense, you have to do it better, especially if they want to win. Crystal Cole says Edwards should help, but not much unless we get to the quarterbacks. Right. Get those errant throws going, get that pressure going, get those sacks going, get those errant throws going where they're throwing off platform. And now Edwards can just a little scoop up in the air and grab one. Whitehead, second linebacker, Edwards, second safety. Falcons went to Super Bowl with that kind of combo. We'll see. I think both can build packages with Whitehead or Tyke or Winfield, all that linebacker, kind of figure it out that way. In certain dime looks. But again, you got to be going against a team that's going to run dime, who's like, you can't put it out there against a heavy set. I mean, the Giants, they got Wan'Dale Robinson and Malik Neighbors. They're not going to spread it out. They're not going to go 4 wide, 3 wide a lot. They're going to try to run the ball. Panthers, they're going to try to run the ball. They got Leggett and Coker. They're going to try to run the ball. The Raiders, they got nobody. They're going to try to run the ball behind Madison and Zamir White. Chargers, we already know they're going to run the ball. Now they might move Quentin Johnson and Ladd McConkey and stuff like that. They might, kind of try to push it downfield a little bit more. We know the Cowboys are going to try to push it down the field. Rico Dwaddle was just named the starting running back, but we know they're going. So like, that's a team you can maybe play some heavier dime against. The Panthers, again, the Saints, maybe you can play some heavier dime. MVS, if he keeps performing. Obviously, if Olave comes back and stuff like that, but if not, they're going to try to run the ball with Kamara. The Bucs usually shut down Kamara pretty well, but like, you don't have a lot of teams that you're going to have 6 defensive backs out on the field. It's just the truth of the matter. You're not going to have a lot of those packages out there. And if you are, it's because you're up big and teams are trying to come back, So I don't know. That's just kind of the situation of the matter there. So, but again, I think they'll have some availability and, to do some things like that. Chris Gross has got to play press man to give the DL time to get there. Maybe when Jamel comes back, I think they can do a little bit of that. You can't do that with Hayes. You certainly can't do that. You can put these guys out on an island a little bit more once you have Jamel Dean back. Jamel Dean's one of the best press man cornerbacks in the game when healthy. Zion has been an absolute stud, and I think he can do it as well. And you've got two good safeties when they're on. They haven't been on together at the same time, but when they're on, they're really good, and they can make up for some deficiencies lost. Especially if Tyke Smith is back out there too. He's dealing with that knee injury, and hopefully he's got enough time to heal that up. But I think you're in a good position that way. But again, it all depends, And then if you do that, though, that's the problem, is you got to have an answer for teams that have good tight ends or teams that like, to pass the ball to the running back. And you look at that second half of the season, and the Panthers are going to get their running backs, and they're going to, pass the ball to Chuba. Brooks is going to start to get a bigger role. The Raiders have two really good tight ends in Meyer and Bowers. You got that's a team that you're probably going to have to play zone against because you can't trust, even Levante. Levante's kind of fallen off a little bit. You can't trust Levante to hold up against a guy like Brock Bowers in coverage. You certainly can't trust KJ Britt. So maybe that's a team you can play a little bit more zone on because they're going to have that tight end to hurt you. The Cowboys, same thing. You have to play a little more zone because they got Jared Ferguson there who can hurt you, The Saints, if Taysom Hill's healthy, they got him and Juwan Jennings, You got to one size doesn't fit all for every team, The Giants, maybe you can play a little bit more man coverage, Maybe you can say, all right, Zion matched up against Malik and Jamel, beat us with Tyrone Tracy and Montgomery, not Montgomery. The other running back that they got there. I can't forget his name. I think he's hurt right now anyways. Singletary. All right, beat us with Tracy and Singletary. And we feel like we can shut down the run on you guys, So it's like you got to pick your poison when you're looking at the teams that the Bucs play and say, okay, realistically, we might be able to man up on these teams. We're still going to play some zone, but we might be able to play a little bit more man against a team that's going to run the ball more, or we feel like we have a good matchup with our cornerbacks more versus someone who has a dangerous weapon out of the backfield that you have to have answers for, and you don't have those at linebacker. So that's kind of the way it goes there. Want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, FanGo tickets. Guys, if you haven't checked these out yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, but just easily go on your phone, type in FanGo tickets, and go check out what they got, especially with the hockey season starting back up. You get some great deals on some hockey tickets. Obviously, the Bucs are still playing too. But yeah, there's so many different things there. We love to support small businesses as well. And especially after the hurricane, supporting a small business that's here in Tampa is paramount, I think. And FanGo's just that. If you're tired of getting blitzed by ticket companies, turn to FanGo. Your exclusively locally owned and operated Tampa Bay ticketing partner that offers fans like you full transparency. They prioritize fair pricing and no hidden fees so that Tampa fans can enjoy events without unexpected costs. Visit fango.com for unbeatable prices, personalized seat selection, and local partnerships that will take your game day to the next level. FanGo tickets, check them out. They have so many cool things that they're doing with partnerships where you can get your tickets, you can get your parking, you can get a reserved table at a restaurant before the Lightning's game or before the Bucs game, and you go there pregame for a little bit. You don't have to worry about lines or how long's the wait or trying to get the bartender's attention. You've got your own table. You got a package there put together for you. Check out FanGo. It's your number one source for live events in Tampa Bay. Definitely check them out. They got some concerts up there too, if you're interested in those too. So check them out. Doing some great stuff. We'll be doing some more giveaways and stuff like that throughout the year with them. They are kicking butt right now. And again, locally owned, support local. especially, at this time after the hurricane. And speaking of the hurricane, because of the hurricane, the Bucs got some new neighbors, and you'll be able to get tickets to their new neighbors games too on FanGo once the season's announced and the schedule's put together. But the Bucs have new neighbors, and they are none other than the Tampa Bay Rays, who are moving over to Steinbrenner Field to play their 2025 season, as obviously catastrophically the Trop's roof was ripped off, and it cost like $56 million to fix. And with them having new built ballpark being built in 2 years, doesn't really make sense for them. And again, they wouldn't even have it ready until 2026 because it needs to be custom made and installed. There's just not enough time for them to get that up in this short time span. So the Bucs, the Bucs have a new neighbor next to them. They put out a statement saying, they're excited to have, the Rays playing right next to them at Steinbrenner. And kudos to the Yankees too. Like AL East division rivals, if you want to call it that, but like they didn't have to do that, allowing them to play there, which means, spring training in the Yankees games, they're going to have to find somewhere else to play potentially as well with the season overlapping there. So this is a stand-up move by them. I think it only holds like 11,000, close to 11,500, something like that. So a little bit more intimate. I mean, the Rays really don't get that, 16,000 tops maybe. So they should be able to fill it. It's going to be hot though. Like, I wouldn't want to be out there playing baseball in August at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa. Wow, I told my kids, we'll go to like an April game, early May game, but don't expect to be going in the middle of the summer because that's just going to be way too hot. But it's cool. Kind of the experiment too. I expect it to be sold out every night. Not just because of the low seats, because it's in Tampa. And no one has to deal with that headache of a bridge and get into that stadium and parking, going down the one-way streets and, going to St. Pete. Like, you don't have to do that, and who knows? Like, I know they're supposed to have a vote to like fully approve it. I think the Rays probably should have been playing in Tampa. I get, they played in St. Pete this whole time, but I think they should have found a location in Tampa that could have worked. But hey, what do I know? Now you'll get fans that can come from Orlando and Polk County and, Citrus County, Hernando County, and it won't be such a troop getting all the way to St. Pete. I think attendance should go up. I wouldn't be surprised if they sell it every game, to be honest with you, especially if they make some moves this offseason to improve their offense as well. So, yeah, it's cool. It's cool having we'll have that little interlap at the end of the year where we'll see how they schedule it, right? We'll see how they schedule it with parking wise and everything like that. Because the Bucs and Rays will play at the same time into September. And obviously, you're always hoping to October, but preseason games and whatnot like that. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. But yeah, other than that, I appreciate you guys for all popping in here. That's really kind of all I have for today. Just, the Bucs, if they can focus up and play better on defense, I got no hesitation that this team can't go on and make a run to potentially win the division if the Falcons fudge up a little bit. I think the Bucs have a very easy schedule. One thing we haven't talked about really a lot is this Falcons schedule. Their schedule has a little bit more challenge to it. They got the Broncos, who have played pretty well. They've been a little up and down. They still got the Chargers again, but that's a home game, so they don't have to travel across the country. They have the Vikings, which the Vikings are a tough team. They've got the Commanders as well. So they've got, I always say the Bucs maybe have two tough games. Obviously the Chargers, I think, will be the tougher of the bunch, but then they have the Cowboys. But Broncos, Chargers, Vikings, Commanders, and the Commanders is week 17, so they'll still be playing. It's not like it's week 18 where they might rest the starters. Yeah, they've got some challenges ahead of them. So, all it takes is 2 games. Well, really, the Bucs need 3 games. The Bucs to win out, they drop 3 games, and now you're looking at potential NFC South Championship. It's a lot tougher after getting swept because you can't tie them. You got to beat them head to head. But still, I think they've got an opportunity to at least make it as a wild card. We'll see. Shout out to my final sponsor, Mosley Heating and Air. when Florida heat hits you hard, trust Mosley Heating and Air to keep you cool and comfortable. With over 25 years of experience, their family-owned business knows what it takes to keep your home's HVAC system running smoothly. Need to repair a new system or maintenance plan? Right now is the time to do it while it's getting cooler out. They've got you covered. Call Mosley Heating and Air at 813-230-3742 or visit mosleyheatingandair.com. Mosley Heating and Air, where comfort meets reliability. Again, thank you to all of you guys for tuning in. Like, subscribe, turn on notifications, tell a friend, tell a family member, share this. Go ahead, do whatever you got to do. Shout out to my sponsors, to my producers at the Sick Podcast. Appreciate all of y'all. We'll be back next week. I'm trying to get somebody on. We'll figure it out. I don't know. It's a weird type of year. Coming off a loss, it's tough too. But we'll be getting some more guests on here. Local guests. Got some guys lined up that cover the team. Of course, we'll be doing our behind the enemy lines as well, starting next week with a Giants representative to tell us all about the Giants. We'll be continuing doing that. Post-game shows as well. Stay tuned here at Pirate Parlay on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen, and we'll be back next week. See you later. Peace out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.